So welcome back guys to another video, and today I thought of something that would be really fun to do. And you know, I've done these kind of videos in the past. I've talked about, you know, my favorite games of all time. I've even done like subcategories with genres and been like my favorite fighting games, favorite platformers. But I thought this would be awesome to talk about some of my favorite games that came out the year I was born. Now, I was born December 12th, 1985. And that was such a important year in video game history. I'll go ahead and tackle the elephant in the room and mention this was the Western introduction to the Nintendo Entertainment System, and you know, to this day, 30 years strong, it still has such a huge impact, even more so in the next couple of months with the Nintendo Plug and Play, the Nintendo Mini Classic. But with that being said, I did not want to put Super Mario Brothers on my countdown, and it's not because I don't like the game. I actually really love Super Mario Brothers. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time, but I kind of wanted to pick something a little different in, you know, 3 games. So the first one I want to start off with is Ghosts and Goblins. I had no idea that this was actually a launch title or came out around the same time as the Nintendo, but I do remember playing this game and having so much fun. There's something about this game, just like Castlevania, really allured me as a child, and I think it's because of the macabre art style. I've always loved games that had zombies and vampires and monsters, especially from the Universal movies, and this game has an excellent blend of difficulty. I knew if I went to Blockbuster or if I went to some mom and pop shop, like the one down my house was called Fran's Videos. If I went to Fran's Videos and I rented this game, I knew I was going to have a fun-filled weekend, because it would take me the whole weekend to beat it. And when I finally did beat it, it was like one of my life accomplishments. It's like, you know, when I'm like 80 years old, someone's gonna be like, Xander, what did you do in your life that made you feel whole? I'm like, well, I learned how to walk and I beat Ghosts and Goblins. Next one is probably gonna be one of my favorite co-op games of all time, and that is Gauntlet. Man, I remember playing this in the arcade when my sister would go to the skating rink. I would go. I didn't care about skating, but I loved going there to play the arcades, and this is one that I enjoyed playing. I loved it because it allowed me to play with like some kids that were a little older than me as well, so that was kind of cool. And it had like the synthesized voicing to it. I thought that was awesome, and you know, it had that medieval flair to it. I loved, you know, Dungeons and Dragons and, you know, skeletons and wizards and stuff like that, and this game had that kind of feel to it, and it's very intense because your health is constantly going down, so you're, you know, looking out for your friend in this co-op game, but you're also trying to look out for your health as well. And I tell you guys, if you haven't played it yet, please do me a favor and download the new Gauntlet that's on PS4, and I believe it's on Xbox One as well. It was actually a PS Plus free game for the longest time, and now you can buy it online, and man, that is such a great online game. I absolutely loved it. So Gauntlet is my number 2. Number 3 is actually going to be Space Harrier. Now, I was a little bit late to the ball game when it came to the Sega Master System, and you know, this was before the world of the interwebs, and I didn't even know about the Sega Master System for the longest time. You know, I didn't know about Sega until the Sega Genesis and the Game Gear. That's when the popularity really started to flourish. But I remember when FuncoLand had just opened up in my town, and if you guys remember FuncoLand, when you went in there, they had all the TVs hooked up, and they had all the different consoles, and they had the Sega Master System hooked up, and they had Space Harrier, and it completely blew my mind the way this game looked. Now, this was years later, but I was appreciating the older technology with the parallax scrolling and the way it looked like he was running on a planet, you know, and it was just things were coming at you, and I loved, you know, those shooters kind of like Galaxian and, you know, Life Force and stuff. But it was a little different, you know, you were controlling this guy on this jetpack and you're just shooting everything. The soundtrack to this day is just so heartwarming. It's heartwarming and gets you pumped, and not many soundtracks do that. So Space Harrier, definitely one of my favorite games that came out the year I was born, 1985. And this is where I want you guys to come in, and I want to get this I want to kind of make this into a community thing. I'm going to even use the hashtag. If you guys make a response video, talk about 3 games that came out the year that you were born that you enjoy playing, use the hashtag #MyYearInGaming. And let's spread this like wildfire. I'd love to hear like some people that, you know, were born in '93, like what are some of your favorite games? And one of my personal favorite years would be like 1996, because, you know, we had the Saturn and the, you know, introduction of the N64 and PlayStation. You know, the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis was still a thing, and we had games like Super Mario RPG. Resident Evil was just introduced. Oh my gosh, so much stuff. I would love to hear from you guys, so be sure to leave a comment below. And if you do make a response video and you share it on Twitter or any sort of social media, hashtag #MyYearInGaming. As always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.
Can't get enough of Excess Gaming Podcast? Be sure to check out our audio podcast on Podomatic.com. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you'd like to share, be sure to check us out on Facebook on our group page and join the community. As always, guys, thank you so much for all the support, and happy gaming.